Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go. Welcome to the Grit and Gravitas podcast studio. Annie Carnathan. It is another fabulous day with you. 30 minutes flies by.
It's a habit now, I'm pretty sure. So whether you watch us, however you consume our show, it's really compelling content. And we know because people tell us.
People tell us. Strangers tell us.
Strangers tell us at pools and other venues. And so we need to keep this going, right? Come on this journey with us. Yeah. You'll enjoy it. It goes so fast for us and hopefully for you as a listener, and whatever feedback you can give us.
We have some incredible guests coming up, so stay tuned.
Wow.
Our fans and listeners and family, of course, they're
our first remote
fans.
guest. I think that's,
yes.
And I think one of the most extraordinary women I've ever met. And I've met a lot of them, so very, very heightened anxiety at the same time, heightened excitement.
She would be the consummate definition of woman in high gear.
Wow.
So, yes. And we have other remote guests. We have some men coming up, which I'm super excited to introduce. And these are another remote guest, so from the other coast. So
in the biz, this is called teasing.
Yeah.
Teasing. But it's as fun for us doing it as it is for people listening to it, and that shows. You just hear the enthusiasm, You hear the commitment, you hear the passion, and it's still the most intentional thing I've ever done, right?
So we just had an episode released recently on social capital, and I got to tell you, I think it was one of my favorite. I say that about every episode, of course. You got to love what you do, and you have to love the people you're doing it with. So that's
can't manufacture
win.
that.
No, that's a win for me. Today's episode, we're going to talk about personal branding, and I'm excited to go deeper with you because, as you have reminded us, and I grudgingly accept, this is a no script zone. And in the world of public relations, we don't go there willingly, but I'll go there with you. And this, as we explore, we don't have notes per se on anything. There is nothing for those watching on video.
There's nothing over there, here. There's nothing.
And we had to be reminded, like with a physical piece of paper, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that we're ending because we would just talk for a very long time. Personal branding. You have one, I have one, everybody listening has one. It is separate from your company brand. And you in sales, people often say, I don't like sales. I don't consider myself a salesman or saleswoman. But your personal brand is how people perceive you. So you are selling yourself. And there are different hints to that. There's different physical traits we have that give hints of our personal brand. And really now, especially through COVID, it's one of the number one reasons people do business with us. It used to be B2B or B2C, and now it's P2P. So it's no longer, do you remember back in the day, they would say, are you business to business? Or are you business to consumer? What are you? We're people to people. And that's probably how you got many of your, especially larger accounts. It wasn't by some invisible, magic moment. It was, they loved you, and you were the personification of universal media analytics. And I just had 2, one brand new client who I love.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And they're tough to come by.
We launched this company in the last 2 weeks. Such great response from media and a lot of our target audiences. So that's exciting. And another one. So when I was in South Dakota, I got 2 calls. And both of these were from connections from 10 years and beyond. So this is where my point is, this is your personal brand. These were touch points 8 and 10 years ago. And I went through my email threads. My inbox is awful because I have everything ever sent to me. These were connections based on, or potential clients based on personal connections a decade ago. So if you think your personal brand doesn't matter or is not leaving an impression, it certainly is. Agree?
There's so much to unpack here. Right? And when you're an active listener, you just sort of file things away, and that's the show. So whatever I can't remember now,
I'll help.
And we're going to get there later. And so the first and foremost about a personal brand, it has to be who you are. Mm-hmm. And we can pretend to be what we think someone else wants us to be. Ultimately, we're going to find our comfortability and our watermark back to exactly who we are. And everyone else is taken. I've only ever tried to look in the mirror and really understand, and this is a common theme with me. Love many, trust few, always row your own canoe. It's coming back to the lady in the mirror. And when I look at my personal brand, I just referenced an article in LinkedIn about the back to office, not back to the office. Are you going to quit or are you going to come back? This battle raging. And LinkedIn, I thought, really narrowed it down and said, look, back to the office work period is going to come down to trust. Mm-hmm. Right? And do you trust your employees? And the harsh phrase is lead, follow, or get out of the way. Well, it's never that black and white. But I'm a leader. What I've had to learn is when to follow and when to get out of the way. And as a personal brand, to your point, when you've made it this far as one brand, it's all adapting, it's all evolving. And so your 10 plus accomplishments years that your personal brand just resulted in these two really fortuitous, new business accounts for you, you're exactly who they thought you were.
That's part of your brand.
And that consistency, because to me, it's not, I don't sit here and go, oh my gosh, there's people that don't like me. Of course there are people that don't like me. There are people who aren't getting invited to my barbecue, right? I don't think we have to be nasty. I don't think we have to be mean. I don't think that to be vitriol, right? We're just not going to be that deeper connection.
Right.
So there's varying levels of connection. There's leaders, there's followers, there's get out of the way. I just want to listen to you, right? Or whatever. And so I think I am intertwined with universal media. You can't distinguish where one begins and the other one ends solely for the reason I'm leading universal media.
Right.
I'm, for all intents and purposes, the hood ornament as the car comes down the road, right? As the bus is like
there we go.
Down the highway,
I can
right?
see you on the Jaguar.
Right?
Yes, I can.
Who's in my bus, right? Lexus.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So to your point, I think it's completely intertwined. It's all I've ever had. All I've ever had is my personal brand. And I'm looking for like connections to go deeper. And a myriad, most of the time, they're not going to go deeper. And I'll close this thought by telling you that our two biggest partners, and not necessarily by revenue, the two biggest connections, one took 3 years, one took 5 years.
Wow.
And they didn't know me when I connected. It wasn't 10 plus years, but in parlance of commitment and investment, and that took forever in the scheme of things. And yet it took nothing considering what that relationship means to not just me, but me and universal media. And so I agree with you. You said to me once, you're someone who leads and I want to follow.
Yeah.
And you're not, to the point of this show, like we don't have anything prepared,
right?
But you're now more so coming around to the spontaneity of it and just the trust. It's all going to come back to relationships and trust.
So I'm going to throw out a business vitamin in the beginning of the show, which is unusual for us. be the kind of person, develop the personal brand where someone wants to call you 10 years from now. That you left such an impression on that person of trust or accomplishment or passion and drive.
Warmth.
And warmth that I'm hitching my wagon to you, and I remember this person from 10 years ago. Now, what has changed in the last decade? And everything. So very easily people could say, well, public relations has totally changed. I'm not sure if Anne's the same one. I was top of mind. So everything you do, and this is because I'm in PR, we do things purpose-driven. And so you do want to be the most dependable, the most loyal, that when the company goes, where they sign a contract with us or with Universal, that they know you're going to give 110%. And maybe not 24/7, because none of us can commit to 24/7. But while they're doing their business, we're doing ours and working on their behalf. So thinking ahead of each new day, what personal brand are you bringing to the workplace? Are you bringing to meetings or strategic sessions that's going to say, what we decide today, I want to hold for the next 10 years? The same persona, the same gravitas that we are emanating today.
Nicely done.
Is what we want everyone to remember us by. And I think of Nancy Ryan put a comment, and she's been on 2 of our podcasts, yay Nancy, on LinkedIn from episode 16, where it was social capital. And she said, okay, Ann and Annie, who's on your bucket list? Because we challenged our friends and fans, develop your short list of 5 people that you intentionally want to reach out to. And so I put on there, number 1 for me was Condoleezza Rice. So back to her personal brand, she always had pearls. You know I'm a lover of pearls now. Ironically, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a mock turtle on, so I don't have my pearls on.
We did not call each other if you're watching either. We just always seem to have this twinning going on.
But Condoleezza Rice, part of her personal brand is wicked smart. Like not pretentious smart, just like smart. Like some people, you want to follow them. You would follow them into battle. I would like to sit at her feet, like just be in the room, listen to all her creative thoughts and ideas and strategies, just amazing. So wicked smart, pearls, gravitas. I think she brings a level of grace to any TV show I've seen with her, any of her, she's with the Hoover Institute now, so any of her podcasts, she just ramps down the room and captivates you. And it's that sense. I mean, she's so accomplished. What an extraordinary golfer, and just.
I don't think she'd beat me at golf. I'm not entirely sure.
But so think of when we're trying to refine our personal brand. Just be thinking, how do I want to be remembered? When I leave this room, do I want to make people feel stronger, safer, more creative?
Do you leave them better than you found them? And I think about that all the time. And I think, you are exactly who they thought you were. Well, and I value consistency almost above all else. And I'm the first to question, ooh, what happened there? That's not really you. Right. And there are factors, there are variables, right? Where none of us are perfect, where you sort of ooh, if I had that moment to take back, here's where I'm sorry comes in, right? And so, but to me, that comfortability and being who people thought you were, and the value of that consistency, and honestly, that's the legacy of our show. What we're trying to leave behind is a group better than we found them, or better than they found us. And so that's the tribe, that's the mutual journey. Right. And Nancy Ryan, of course, asked Isabel, and I said, you know what, Nancy, it's in the Lord's hands.
I saw that.
Because I don't sit here and think I would covet meeting, I just X. But it was a really compelling question. It took me a whole day to think about that. And I was like, you know what, the Lord has blessed me with these extraordinary people in my life. Not just the whole when I least expected it. I mean, just, are you kidding me? Wow. Someone said to me once, you collect people.
Wow.
And I thought, whoa, that's exactly right. That's giving me chills.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's this lifelong journey to find those like people that can challenge me as well as
Certainly.
me challenging them, because that's what I think the irony of me is. I seem so, well, I just seem, I'm strong. Here's my opinion. Here's my hot take. Here's the path I'm on. But I love being challenged on that. I love the disruption. I love respecting the fact that I can madly love someone and not agree. It's fine.
You're very good at that. I love disruption too, but I was going to give an example of if a disruptor is your personal brand, I'm not sure that's 100% positive. If you leave a room where people are just
Scared.
laid flat and they don't know how to respond, that's not positive. Like, you want to leave people challenged to think in new and different ways, and leave them with the confidence that, okay, I'm going to explore this and I'm going to follow you. And
it's not collaborative.
Right.
You can only be a leader, to your point, if people are willing to follow.
You cannot level people. And that, if that's your personal brand, there are probably scenarios.
Fear isn't a management style that's sustainable or that's ultimately going to give you the optimal result.
And I think that was a leadership brand in years past. Fear. Fear of approach, fear of confrontation, fear of challenge.
Fear of loss.
And yes. So I think if that's part of your personal brand, it's not sustainable and probably not as productive for your team. I know it's not as productive for your team.
No, it's not. And I say this, loud and proud. I have the best group of leaders I have ever had in my career. It's almost an embarrassment of riches. And as bright as they are, as committed as they are, as loyal as they are, they have so many of the same common traits as human beings, as all of those things. They're better human beings.
Right.
And when someone 2 weeks ago said to me, like, how do you do this? How do you find and grow and challenge? And I said, I honestly, I think it's just by being me and finding again those connections, and that ability to be safe and to be comfortable and to say, you know what, not only do I really want to hear what you have to say, whatever that is, we're going to be fine when that conversation is finished. And I'm going to give you the why of the final decision I made, but know that I took that to heart. But here's the why. And if someone knows the why in and can come back and say, oh, I understand, I might not like it.
Right.
But they certainly understand the seat at the table and not the silent voice of the seat at the table.
Right.
The vocal voice of the seat at the table. Because if we as a team can't trust each other and have relationships and innovate to the point of disruption, we talked about that about your firm.
Yeah.
The things you're doing are so innovative, and disrupt isn't a negative in my mind. If we're not challenging that status quo, if we're not differentiating through our people, we're table stakes. It's just a laundry list of us doing the same things everyone else does. People have to be inspired. People have to go, oh my gosh, right?
Right.
I left
No, I
feeling
love that.
better about her.
It's part of your brand inspiration.
100% part of my, because I'm Tigger, right? I'm bouncing around. There's always a better time ahead. And look, we all have the same challenges. It's really tough.
So I'm thinking of board positions. And when the boards I sit on, when we're seeking new members, you immediately go to the personal brand of the person, whether you know that or not. What are the defining features? What are the characteristics? What tangible and intangible that person will bring to boards? And I was reviewing a board application recently, a young person, and they didn't have much experience. And I was starting to question in my mind, I did not know them and had never read about them. What was the value they would add to us? Or would it go the other way? Were they looking to receive value? And of course, that's a legitimate expectation. But there's a handful of board members I have been privileged to serve with. Kathleen Pavelka, one of them, and she was president, CEO of WITF before she recently retired. Huge value add. You knew if her name was on a committee, was on a board, that was a get-it-done organization. She would sit there for one reason alone. She added tremendous value. Never said that, never spoke of herself that way, but in my personal first-person observation, wow. If she was on a board, I was going to raise my hand and say, yeah, I'll join you. I'll serve alongside you. So part of the personal brand for younger people listening, or for those who really want to take stock in their personal brand, it is tangible and intangible. It is, some of your physical characteristics. Is there a specific, remember Dr. Birx with the, COVID task force, her scarves, they ended up to be a meme on social media because everyone was imitating, probably a lot of Talbot scarves or whatever were being worn. I'm just thinking the world of politics. Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, the bright red lipstick, she brought that back. Jackie Onassis, the sunglasses and the scarf and the flats, that came back. So there are people with defining features who you just think, wow, that's what their brand is. So, and it can be that, I've just complimented you on your manicure. It's always, you are top shelf in nails. And it's one of the first things I see. And that's a signal of detail-oriented. Put together, those things matter to you. Clearly, you didn't just rush out the door. Loyalty, trust, dependability. We've all learned, I think our leaders have learned in the last 18 months, resilience. How important is that to your personal brand? Your team looks at you and she's going to get us through whatever it is we're going to face. She has courage. She has bravery. She has resilience. Dependability,
kindness, empathy.
Right.
And it's critical to me to show that. And you know what, Ian? Everyone's paying attention. Everyone's examining.
And on social media.
Every part of us.
These brands, your personal brand, should easily be recognized on social media. If you are a totally different person on your personal Instagram, you've got a problem. That should never be.
And regardless of whether I like it or not, I am intertwined with Universal Media. And I'm not just representing Annie Carnathan. I'm representing...
You are the brand ambassador.
I am. And I can't ever say there's a really hot take I would do if I weren't intertwined somehow. But largely, it doesn't matter. And most importantly, it's not going to change the narrative. The narrative, any narrative, is going to be changed one conversation at a time. One passionate way to lean in and hope whatever someone heard that they didn't agree with at least landed somewhere for consideration. Doesn't mean it's going to change a mind. I think that, with a personal brand, especially too on social media, it's there forever.
Oh, amen.
No, the post was immediately taken down. Big whoop. You and I both know.
Screenshot, right.
And is that a relationship? Is that something that, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, I won't have remembered it, and B, it won't matter.
Right.
Right. And so the legacy is this for me. The legacy for the guests we have on is that. If someone's going to hear them and go, wow, someone they love, someone they care about, and what did it mean to sacrifice to get to the level? Because we all really have. And I think that just what's the definition of sacrifice as part of your personal brand? What are you willing to sacrifice and what aren't you? And at what expense? It's all at a cost. And so when I try to do outreach or I try to find really quality, solid partners, I know what Universal Media represents. It's inside me. And so extending to that, it's not, and this gets me into the whole reciprocity hustle of social and connections, meaning I'm going to connect with you solely for what I want from you. And if I don't get that, like, and that's so apparent, it's so obvious. I think you have to instead sow seeds.
Right.
That either
Love that.
You're just
business vitamin number 2.
right. Business vitamin, and how are you doing
Sow
that
seeds.
with your heart?
Be known. Have seed sowing part of your personal brand.
And if it's with this show is one great big seed spreader, because you and I are just doing. We've talked about why we're doing it. We don't even know what to ask for from anyone except other than to listen and enjoy.
We're shortening the
and
learning
share.
curves.
Well, right. And so can this help someone in some capacity? We're sowing seeds.
Right.
We don't have an intention of we're doing this to get that. And for me now, it's that, right? I'm just sowing sort of seeds. Like, does all this work for you? I think here's one area we can help you. You're really wildly successful. Here's one area where I think we would be meaningful for you. Start at the bottom rung of the ladder. Is it worth a conversation? And look, people have to be willing to have a conversation. It's not a bot that by the 4th bot email, they're militant. Well, you're not answering my email. Oh, you're not getting on my account. You're a bot.
Yes, right.
right. This, back to the very initial point, people, relationships.
And that's where the personal
sell.
brand.
Oh, gosh forbid the sales word. That's how business gets done in my heart of hearts. And as long as I prove that, right, I'm right.
Right.
I'm right for me because I'm bearing that out. I'm proving that.
I'm looking around at our lovely studio in the Deeter Gallaher Group global headquarters, and we have a brand in the studio. The orange chairs, fresh, new, innovative. The flowers, we joke about this, but I run down to Blooms by Vickery, fabulous creative flower shop just about 3 blocks down. They know when I come running in at 4:30 on a Thursday, like, it's podcast day tomorrow, I need flowers. So they whip up this amazing creative bouquet for me because these details matter to us. We want the ambiance, the environment. The Julie Riker original paintings, most of those are plein air paintings, done outside. Somewhere in Pennsylvania. I love that. It makes me feel better to talk with you.
Looking at flowers,
in
how
this
do you not feel better?
environment.
That's the lost art. Send someone flowers in addition to your handwritten card periodically.
Yes.
And trust me, no one is giving them that kind of attention. And
I'm thinking, so...
And Ben Gallaher's soundtrack, don't forget our custom. Ben Gallaher.
Shout out to Ben.
Shout out always to Ben.
In the personal branding, and I know we have like 2 minutes left to wrap this up, Crystal Turner Childs, her just contagious energy for women's empowerment and exercise, taking charge of your health. And she's at the highest rung nearly at the Pennsylvania State Police. I mean, if she says drop in and do 5, I'll do it. I'm just going to, do the push-ups or whatever. But I feel part of her brand is that building healthier communities, working together. And I want to follow along. We've had almost every guest we've had has a personal brand.
And that's how I'm going to end, right?
Yes.
My loop to close in this show is to say that every single guest we had finished and I felt better for having.
Yeah. Amen.
And I think it's a testament to you and your relationships. It's a testament to my relationships and our personal brand. People aren't trusting us to come on this show if they don't engage and trust the personal brand and the relationship. This is a wild ride for people. You just don't know what's going. Amy Murray. This was really horrible, right? Like my.
What was her line? This wasn't
terrible or
no,
miserable
what did
or
she
horrible.
say?
Yeah.
I can't think.
But
it was a great line.
2 business vitamins. We're running out of time, so I'll let you.
So the
send us
2
out.
guests that we spoke of, which will be our first remote guests, 1 female, 1 male, they have tremendous personal brands, and I'm excited. And every guest we've had, we have loved, and we feel that our friends and fans or audience will certainly benefit as much as we did from knowing these people. And that's the end game, is that we just want to open up our circle of influence and say, hey, these are amazing people and they will help you too. So be intentional with your personal brand. Everybody has one. Pay attention. Don't walk out the door on your way to work or even on the weekend without paying attention to your brand, the way you leave people in meetings. Be the type of person that 10 years from now, your people will say, wow, I can't wait to connect with Ann and Annie again. I had such a great experience in the podcast studio. I can't wait. And you remember that for a decade. I mean, that's just me. We want to make sure we let people feel better for having had a meeting with us or a conversation or even an email. Part of your personal brand is your grace. And
spending that non-renewable time. And until we talk again, Ann Gallaher, you are fabulous.
Cheers, Annie Carnathan. Have a high gear day. Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.